Hachette Audio presents Hard Call. Great decisions and the extraordinary people who made them. Written by John McCain and Mark Salter. Read by Daniel Hugh Kelly and John McCain.
Hi, this is John McCain. I knew a man who slept through the night. He had nearly reached the end. Wounded, starved, delirious, and exhausted, he commanded himself to consider his situation carefully. In the last few days of his journey, he worried that he was losing his mind. He had caught himself arguing loudly with a Sunday school teacher from his childhood. Thanking God for getting him this far, he briefly mistook his own voice for another American's. Now he had to summon all that remained of his wits and his formidable courage to make the most faithful decision of his life. To make one last dash now, or to wait for daylight. He chose to wait. 2 weeks earlier, on August 26, 1967, Air Force Major George Bud Day had been shot down and captured north of Vietnam's DMZ. He had broken his right arm in 3 places and had painfully sprained his knee when he ejected from his F-100 fighter jet. The North Vietnamese who captured him had roughly set his fractures, fashioned a crude cast for his broken arm, bound his ankles together, and put him in a hole in the ground until he could be transported north. Tough old bird that he was, Bud decided to go home instead. Late in his first night of captivity, he freed himself from the ropes, crawled out of his hole, and quietly began his trek to the other side of the DMZ and an American airfield, 20 miles to the south. Over the next 2 weeks, he traveled at night and slept when he could during the day. He waded through rice paddies, dragged himself across jungle floors, climbed hills, crossed rivers, narrowly evaded recapture, and once risked exposing himself to enemy fire while floating down the Ben Hai River on 2 pieces of bamboo. He subsisted on dew and rainwater, a handful of berries now and then, and a couple of live frogs he swallowed out of desperation. He became ill, unable at one point to keep water down. He burned with fever, but he was tougher than most men and braver, and he kept moving south. Finally, near the end of the 13th day of his escape, he came to rest within a mile of a forward American air base. He watched helicopters and aircraft take off and land, signaled 1 or 2 unsuccessfully, and fought the impulse to run towards his countrymen as fast as a starving, half-dead man with a bum knee and a broken arm could. But he restrained himself. Given his condition and the powerful temptation posed by the prospect of imminent rescue, his restraint strikes me as...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?